first meeting, the initial meeting, is we're establishing what it is that they're wanting to obtain. Unlocking the block in what area of their life by doing an assessment. And I tell them we're kind of like archaeologists. We're going to climb in internally into their head and find out where they're not becoming the best they can be in their sport. When you're working with an athlete on any level, they've been playing their sport since they were knee-high. So I'm not the expert in their sport. I'm not about to tell them how they can play their sport better. That is not peak performance. What I do is I find out where their block is. As an athlete, they may have experienced a sports injury. They may have experienced humiliation. They may have experienced trauma of some nature in playing their sport. They may experience frustration. All of that gets locked in their system internally, and it starts building over time and time again. And what we do is we find out where that original source of trauma was internally, and then we unlock it. BrainSpotting is a very unique, it's a very cutting-edge technique that's used. We identify where the athlete has the block internally, which is really in their nervous system, and we do this through eye movement. When we experience the threat, we either move towards it or move away, right?
Yes.
Well, when you can't do either of those, it gets frozen in our system, which is really our nervous system. So if you have an athlete and they have experienced out on the field, let's say a trauma, they've been injured, they can't move away from it, the ball's coming to them, or they crash into another player, they can't stop it. That event gets frozen in their system internally. So every time they go back out onto that field or their playing environment, the body remembers it. We take in information on a daily basis. We have since we were little. That information is processed through our brain and it's channeled down into our body and our nervous system. Well, anything that we've experienced that was unpleasant kind of becomes stuck in our system, so to speak. And it becomes like an imprint on our nervous system, and then we just continue to build on those imprints, and those become blocks that get stuck in our system. The body is like a scoreboard. It keeps track of everything that has happened in your entire life. So think about it when you're working with an athlete, all their experiences. So we would just isolate it to sports, and any of those experiences. In our field, we call them traumas. So it could be a sports trauma, and that trauma could be a physical trauma, it could be an emotional trauma, it could be a mental trauma. Anything of that nature that was stored in their system stays stored until we unlock it. If an athlete, let's use the one of the baseball player I worked with. And this gentleman has been playing sports since he was knee-high. He's a pro baseball player. He knows how to play. He knows how to run around that field. He's done it a million times. On this particular day, he runs around the field and he collides with the catcher and he gets a concussion. So now, remember, the body keeps a score for everything. Every time he goes back on in that field, the body remembers exactly what happened. Even though he's trying to push his body to the maximum performance, the body is remembering when he goes around third base what happened there. And every time he goes around, he can try and push through it, but the body is going to hold back and be a little bit resistant than before the incident happened. So what we do is we go in and we process that specific incident out of the system with BrainSpotting. The body wants alignment. It doesn't want to hold on to those blocks that are not serving it. So the body wants to release it, it just doesn't know how. And I become the conduit to help them let it flow and release. For example, I have a doctorate in psychology. My background is, with regard to BrainSpotting, is really the practice of neuropsychology. You're getting in there, you're working with the brain. That's not the average coach. For all those athletes that are wanting to take their game to the next level, I say contact QLP Academy, because we will help you take it to the next level.